Good afternoon, YWCA viewers. This is Series 2, Episode 15 of The Butterfly Effect, sponsored by Pursuit. My name is Brianne Galley. I'm the marketing manager at Pursuit, and for those that don't know us, Pursuit provides businesses with affordable loans and resources so that they can transform and grow. We're an Albany-based, community-focused lender that's 100% invested in the success of our clients. If you're a small business owner looking for funds to start, grow, or recover, you can learn more about us at pursuitlending.com. So the Butterfly Effect is an empowerment series where volunteer hosts like myself interview inspiring women in our community. And today we have Charlotte Guyton of Barb Baker on. Welcome, Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me, Brianne. I'm very excited to be here.
It is great to have you here. So rather than me introduce you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you and what makes you tick, Charlotte?
Well, my name is Charlotte Guyton, as mentioned. I own Barb Baker Board Game Cafe located in downtown Troy, New York. We opened in 2018 and actually just opened our second location in Albany about a month ago with the assistance of a SBA small business loan through Pursuit Lending back in 2018. I am classically trained in hospitality, attending Paul Smith's College in the Adirondacks, and I just have always loved making people's day better and have always enjoyed board games growing up. And so the two just kind of became a fusion into a really beautiful business model that we love.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey to entrepreneurship? Because I know that you had some experience in hospitality before opening Barb Baker. What was that path like?
Yeah, so it was an interesting path, maybe a little less direct than most individuals regarding entrepreneurship. When I went to school for hospitality, I wasn't really passionate about my degree. It seemed more focused on like casinos and hotels, motels, fast casual. And it wasn't really what I was passionate about. I did take some small business entrepreneurship classes while in school, and I thought, well, this is interesting. Like maybe I'll have my own business someday, but not anytime soon. And after I graduated, I made my way from the Adirondacks down to Troy, New York, working for a series of small business owners, and really loved the small business aspect of it, being able to work as a very tightly knit team and really being able to make a difference in your downtown community. And when I was working for a small organization called Clark House Hospitality back in 2015 through 17, I just really fell in love with downtown Troy. And one thing about Troy was that there was plenty of places to eat and drink, but not a lot of places for casual entertainment, which was a shame because we have RPI, we have Russell Sage, we have UAlbany, a ton of local college campuses, and plenty of individuals who want to socialize but don't want it to be around a tavern and drinking environment. So my now fiance, Brian, and I, we had visited a board game cafe down in New York City called The Uncommons and fell in love with the concept. Instead of hearing people like clink their forks and knives on plates together, we heard people laughing and playing games. And it was just such a beautiful moment of connection that I became obsessed with the concept and started just reaching out to different board game cafes around the country and saying, how did you do this? What worked, what didn't? Do you have any recommendations? And then slowly building a business plan over the course of a year and a half that I would end up submitting to Pursuit in order to obtain the small business loan. So I would say that I didn't always want to be an entrepreneur, unless you ask my mother. She thinks that I was always destined to be one. But it just it took a series of meandering roads and doing something that I love, which is great.
Yeah, I once heard somebody say that, most careers are not a ladder as we think of them. They are a jungle gym, and there are many different ways to get to the top. So it sounds like you kind of had a similar experience there.
I love that. I remember that one.
So I love how you mentioned the atmosphere of the board game cafes that you encountered before opening Barb Baker. And as someone who loves board games, I know that sometimes it can be kind of intimidating to, dive into a really complex or strategic board game when you grew up with, Monopoly and Life and Clue. But Barb Baker has always just felt so inviting every time I've walked in there. What have you and Brian done to make that atmosphere like that?
Well, a big part about it is we just love people. And I know that sounds really silly and corny, but every person that comes in here, I want to know your story. I want to know a little bit about you, what you do outside of the walls of Barb Baker, not just the games that you play, but who you are as an individual. That's what I love about the hospitality industry, is it is people focused. And I've always loved talking to people and meeting new people. The second piece of that puzzle, if you will, is definitely the staff that we hire. And one thing, when I was working for Clark House, Heather Levine kind of was my mentor at the time regarding that. She always said, don't hire technically trained people necessarily, but hire empathetic people, hire kind people, because you can teach them the skills of whatever job or trade it is, but you can't really teach someone to just care about someone at a very core level. And that really stuck with me, especially with Barb Baker. We wanted to create a safe space for all, for when you walk in, you are not just welcomed, but you are celebrated. And I think we do that well. If it's any indication from our guests saying that they feel safe and welcomed and celebrated and loved here, then I'll take that as a thumbs up.
Absolutely. I think it's been very successful. And it's so true. Those soft skills like empathy and caring, you can teach somebody how to do all the technical things, but those things are so ingrained in who we are that it's hard to train that.
Yeah, for sure. When we first had opened, we had thought that we needed to hire individuals who knew all 800 games and could teach them. And then we realized we can teach people about the games, but we need people to take care of others. So it just kind of became this natural shift of, let's just hire kind people.
I love that. So you did mention that you opened a second location recently in Albany. Even as a pandemic continues to be a challenge. So can you tell me a little bit about how that opportunity came about and what you've done to make that a success?
Absolutely. It was a very unique opportunity that we were not expecting. Back in January 2020, we had just had our most profitable quarter of Barb Baker in Troy, and we were so excited. We had individuals reaching out to us across the Capital District saying, hey, I have this space. I'd love for you to open a second location. So we started kind of considering and dabbling in what that would look like, and started kind of looking at the different areas around the market that were similar to Troy to kind of mimic that. And then, of course, everything hit, and it just became shutdown mode. As you know, our business model is completely focused around, family, friends, strangers all getting together to touch and play games together. So, last year, that business model did not work at all. And many board game cafes around the country ended up closing because they weren't able to pivot to a food or drink focused business model instead. So we were very fortunate that our team stayed with us. We pivoted to takeout and delivery. We got a break on loan payments, which was awesome and super helpful during that time period. And then at the end of the year, coming into this year, 2021, when we sat down with our accountant, we looked at it and we actually didn't do that bad, all things considered. We were really worried that we would have done a lot worse. And I will say that because we were able to secure both rounds of the Paycheck Protection Program in order to continue to pay our existing staff and bring on more people and create more jobs during that time, we were able to take that money that we were not spending on payroll, because Paycheck Protection was helping to pad that, and we were able to, basically push it away into, an emergency fund that we probably should have had before the pandemic, but now that we could build now in case in case the situation got worse or anything else developed. Well, in March of this, or April, I guess, of this year, our coffee roaster, Brutus Roasting, who has a Del Mar roastery and location and had opened a second location right on Madison Avenue next to the Madison Theater exactly a year prior, had come to me and was like, it's not working out. I want to get out of this lease. It's not like, it's hard to staff, and it's not what I thought it would be with the pandemic. And I was like, well, what is your rent like? What is your average sales that you're doing each week? And I did basically the same thing that I did for Barb Baker Troy, was start to build a business model and financial planning on what it would take to open that. And because we were able to get those paycheck protection loans through the SBA through Pursuit, again, we were able to take that sum and essentially equity inject it into the new location to help with payroll, to help with initial opening expenses. And it was just kind of an opportunity that was too good to be true and too silly to not take advantage of. So we got the location pretty much turnkey operational. We got an amazing staff. I know a lot of people have been going through a lot of struggles with hiring, but we have not had that issue, and it feels really weird and like guilty to say that. There's so many amazing people that want to work for us, and we're just so incredibly grateful. We opened our doors October 4th of this year, had a ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce, and it's been going really well ever since.
That's so great. I actually got to visit that location a few weeks ago, and it's lovely and such a nice place to hang out. It was myself and a coworker there to play some games. We saw parents with their kids. We saw college students coming out together. So it was just a really wonderful thing to see.
Thank you.
So you talked a little bit about the paycheck protection loans you received and the SBA loans through Pursuit. How did you first find out about Pursuit?
So I had first heard about Pursuit actually through my local bank, Pioneer Savings Bank in the Capital District. I had originally gone to them with my business loan and was like, hey, here's all of my things. I would like to open this, and I would like to do it for $80,000. And they took one look at it and they were like, this is a really good idea. You do not have your numbers right. It's going to be way more than 80,000, and we do not, unfortunately, fund that. But we have some great contacts at Pursuit who can walk you through the process, really fine-tune those financials, and get them set in order to submit them to the board for approval and go from there. And we met with, I'm not sure if he's still there, but Dustin Krause of Pursuit. Dustin, yay! I think that we got so incredibly lucky to have Dustin, because he just instantly believed in our business model, instantly believed in our idea, gave us a no crud approach to it, and was like, this is what makes sense in your plan, this is what doesn't, and I recommend tweaking or getting some additional market research in. And I took a couple of local business planning classes around the area through various chambers of commerce and the Community Loan Fund, and really just kind of fine-tuned it over the course of 6 months for that formal submission to the SBA for approval. And we got approved. And I cannot tell you, I don't think I've happy cried so much in my entire life, because there's no way that we would have been able to open this without Pursuit and without an SBA loan. My fiance and I had been saving up money, but like we had enough for the $20,000 equity injection for the loan itself. There's no way that we could have afforded a $200,000 build out of the space essentially to open it without literally people believing in our idea enough to finance it.
Well, we're honored to play a small part in your story, Charlotte, and we love seeing you continue to grow and succeed. If we could shift gears for a moment, just talk about the industry itself that you're in. What is it like to be a woman in the hospitality industry today?
Well, I think when I first started out, it was more of a male-dominated industry, especially in the kitchen and ownership capacity. You had, female-identifying individuals in like a server capacity or like a front desk capacity, like always the people that are helping people, but not necessarily like the person who is like taking charge and in charge of something. And it was very interesting to go through various stages of, working as an hourly employee to a supervisory capacity to a manager to a general manager, and kind of seeing like the slow shift in the industry over time. I will say too that the board game industry, while we're less retail and more restaurant focused, it also is a very male-dominated industry with a lot of gatekeeping, which is another reason why we wanted to open Barb Baker, because we would go to these other board game cafes or stores and they would see me as a, outwardly female identifying individual and say like, oh, how much could you possibly know about games? Like, here's Jenga, sweetheart. You can't handle anything else. And I was like, come on, I am really, really smart. And that's incredibly rude. So we wanted a place for everyone, regardless of skill level, to feel warm and welcome. And, if you want to play the classics, that's wonderful. Relive them till the end of time. But if you want to dip your toes in the water of Euro games and the hobby industry, we're here for that as well. And no judgment whatsoever. So I will say that being a woman in the industry has been very challenging in order to prove yourself over time, right? You feel like you have to go the extra step to say, well, I do know what I'm doing. I am intelligent. I have put the work into all of this. And yes, you should trust me regardless of my appearance, regardless of my pronouns. And it's gotten easier over time, but it was definitely very challenging at the very beginning of my career. However, I will say that Dustin is amazing, and we still talk to Dustin today, and he comes in and visits the space, and he's like, I knew it, just having one conversation with you. He's like, you had it together, you knew what you were doing. Like, he never questioned, and I always felt respected and validated in every single conversation that I had with him, which was really refreshing, coming from two very different male-dominated and almost like aggressive industries, right?
Right. Oh, that's so good. It's so encouraging to hear that. And I think something that I really love about the model at Barb Baker is if there is a game that you want to try out that maybe you don't own at home, you can pay the cover charge and take the time in a really nice, cozy space to learn it with your friends. And then if you love it, you can go purchase it another time. Which it's such a good environment for that.
And it's wonderful too, because we are more focused, as you mentioned, on the gameplay aspect of it and kind of, trying something out before you buy it. It's kind of like the Blockbuster of board games, right? But there's so many great, small, local, family-owned board game and hobby gaming stores around the area. And we actually partner with Zombie Planet down on Western Ave in Albany. So if you're a Barb Baker guest and you play a game here and you really like it and you order directly through them, you get a nice little discount on that as well. So it just is another incentive to support, these local, small businesses that, are trying our best against Amazon. I mean, we're doing our best here.
That's so great. And Zombie Planet is a great store with super helpful staff as well. So I definitely encourage anyone who goes to Barb Baker to also visit there as well. So Charlotte, what advice would you give to your younger self now that you are where you are today?
So I would say that my younger self was more concerned and focused on leading and living a life that was focused on accomplishments and awards. When I was first getting started in the industry, I was like, I want to be a master sommelier and I want to be one of the few women in the world to do it. And then as it went on, I was like, I want to be Forbes 30 under 30 and I want to do it for the industry. And over time, I'm 31 now, over time, I realized that I enjoyed living a more meaningful career and life than something that was focused on, hitting the check mark or the check boxes on getting all the things done that I wanted to. And I think that I would have more like stopped and smelled the roses instead of just continuously climbing and continuously pushing forward. But it all worked out. So I would say to my past self, don't worry so much. Your life is gonna be fun and interesting, and just continue to be kind to people. It'll all come around.
That's great advice. I find that, each year as I progress in my career, those milestones that I had set for myself, upon graduating college, it didn't matter if you hit those by a certain age. What matters is the meaning you find in it, like you were saying, and being kind to others for sure.
Exactly.
So we are coming upon the busy holiday season coming up. What are Barb Baker's plans for that and beyond?
So for the holiday season is usually pretty busy for us. We have, visiting. Obviously, last year was a little bit different. People weren't traveling around as much to be expected. As everyone gets vaccinated around the area, I'm sure that we're going to see more visiting families, especially with our local college students around the area as well. Whether people are bringing their family here or coming here to escape their family for a spell, it's good for both of those reasons. And we're really excited to be introducing a fun line of merchandise at Barb Baker with some cool small business collaborations that we've been working on. It seems really silly to be excited about this 3 years in to opening our business, but we hadn't really had that backstock capital saved up to factor in merchandise until this point in time, really. So now kind of having a little bit of wiggle room to do some fun collaborations and some cool nerdy things. We're really excited about that. The holidays too are usually very busy for takeout and delivery sales. We also always do special order pies. Brian, my fiance Brian, is the executive chef here, and he has a pretty intense pie following locally. So if you're looking for holiday pies, keep an eye on the Barb Baker's social media platforms, because we'll be going live with those soon, and you don't want to miss out. They're a lot of fun, really tasty.
So exciting. I will definitely be keeping an eye out for that, because I know that you also have some great vegan and gluten-free options in your baked goods. I have a vegan in my family, so that is always helpful for me. Well, Charlotte, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like people to know about Barb Baker that we maybe didn't cover?
Gosh. It's a lot of, I know it sounds really silly, but it's just a lot of fun. If you're looking for a place to hang out with people that's really non-judgmental, and just a wonderful safe space, we respect everyone's names and pronouns, and everyone here is family. You're not just accepted here, you're celebrated here, and we really truly love meeting as many people in our community as possible. We have a phenomenal local regular guest clientele, but we meet new individuals every single day. And the more that you support Barb Baker, the more likely it is that we can get more loans from Pursuit to open more locations in the future.
Thank you for that. Well, thank you so much, Charlotte. Everybody in the local area, please visit their Troy and Albany locations. It is always a great time to eat some delicious food, have some coffee or tea, and try out a new board game. So thank you to the YWCA for hosting this episode. In closing, we would like to remind our audience that the YWCA is accepting nominations for the 39th Annual Achievement Awards Luncheon, which is being held on March 24th, 2022 at the Rivers Casino. Nomination forms can be found on the YWCA's website. That's www.ywca-neny.org. And they must be submitted by November 24th. So thank you again, Charlotte, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Brianne. You as well. Take care.
Thank you.